What is up YouTube, Sciz1 here. Today we're going to take a look at how well the On The Run Flowpen ink here stains a surface and drips doing some graffiti tags, doing a tagging test on a smooth surface. First, I'm going to be giving you the information you're going to want to know about the Flowpen ink, and then we'll head over to our testing area to catch some tags with the Flowpen ink in these Soltip .006 graffiti mops. And yes, the Soltip 006, they are the same as the OTR Soltip 007s, just a smaller marker body. So if you do want to take a look at an actual review of the mop itself, you can check that out in the top right hand corner in the cards. So this ink comes in 200 milliliter bottles and costs you about $13 US. It comes in a few different colors, more than most inks, and it emphasizes its permanence. Although it doesn't say it's a bleed through ink, we are also going to test the bleed through capabilities during our tagging test, just to be thorough, because you never really know. These inks could be more valuable than they even claim. I will leave a link down below in the description to where you can buy this ink if you do think it's a good buy after our tagging test gives it a bit of a chance to shine. But let's head over to the testing area and get right to it and see how this ink performs. Okay, so welcome to our testing area. This is where all the magic happens. This is where we see if a lot of the graffiti mops, graffiti products stand up to the test of actual usage or if they're not so great. So as you can see behind me here, I have a nice white surface for us to test on today. You might notice a bit of bleed through here. That's actually from my Mighty Marker review that I did. This is an incredible bleed through ink. I would recommend you check that out. There's a link in the corner where the cards are for that one. But of course, what we're gonna do, we're gonna tag some subscriber names who asked for hit-offs on this white surface, see how this writes, how the ink operates, and then after that we'll test its staining capabilities just by going over it with some white paint and seeing if we get any bleed through effect at all. And I'm gonna tell you right now, from using this before, we are gonna see a bit of bleed through, so stick around for that. I managed to fill these two mops up without too much spill. You might want to use gloves when you're filling small mops up like this, and I mean, if you use my funnel technique, it doesn't have to be a messy process. Let me know if you guys want a video on how I fill my mops up. One thing I do want to mention though, after you fill your mop up, what you want to do is actually take a towel and just dry off the threads of your cap and the inside of your cap, the threads. You want to get all the ink out of there, because that way when you recap it, you're not going to have issues of it solidifying and the cap being super hard to get off. It's just a nice way to stop that from happening. But let's get to it. Alright, so let's start off with the 006 mop here, just the normal nib, not the roller ball, and we'll just see what kind of control we can get with this ink and how it looks. Pecco wanted a hit off, so let's give Pecco a hit off. That was a pretty bad hit off, sorry about that, but right away you can see a bit of like color variation in the ink. That's the kind of thing I love about using inks. You get a bit of color variation, and to me that's really nice. Enoch wanted a hit off. Let's see what we got for Enoch here. The surface is getting pretty rough now that it's as old as it is. Yeah, let's see if we can get some drips here. There we go. Yeah, a lot of people love the ink specifically for drips, so although I'm not a super big drippy guy, I'm gonna try and do some tags with the drips just to show you guys its capabilities here. And specifically when we start to use the roller ball here, you'll really see the dripping capabilities. First though, Snotman wanted to hit off. It's been so long since I've used any ink at all. Let's get him again up here. I just want to take a minute to give you guys a bit of a close-up of sort of the ink coloring that we're getting here. I know there's a bit of variation in the white background that I put down, but also just look at that ink. The way it settles in and everything is extremely nice in my opinion. These roller balls, I'm not ever a fan of using rollerball with ink, but some people really like it. I don't know, let's just try a good one-liner here. There we go. That's more what I'm talking about. Let me just drop another couple one-liners here. So now let's put a couple things down that we're gonna actually try and cover up here and see if we have any bleed through capability whatsoever on here. Okay, so we've let this ink settle into the surface just a little bit, and now what I want to do is just put a layer of this flame orange over it and see if it bleeds through at all. Nice. Granted, the ink is still a little bit wet, so that helps it bleed through, but I mean, initially, that's a really nice ghost that we're seeing there. I'm gonna wait a few minutes, and then we're gonna try another layer and see if we get some better results. Trying to cover it. Otherwise, though, this is looking quite good. All right, so it's been close to 5 minutes now. I'm just gonna try another quick layer over the OTR tag, see if anything remains after. Sort of got better results that time trying to cover it up, but there is still definitely a very clear ghost of the OTR there, and that shows you how strong this ink is. It emphasizes permanence. It doesn't place an emphasis in the sort of specifications of it that it does bleed through, but clearly it leaves a nice ghost on a acrylic based paint when you're trying to cover it up with that, so that's always nice. And again, I'd like to point out that there's some really great color variation. I really like that. That's one of the main draws for me personally of using an ink. So now comes the time where I want to give you sort of my overall thoughts about this ink and where I think it stands compared to some other graffiti inks on the market. Price-wise, it's certainly far from the best, but it's also far from the worst. It's sort of middle of the pack. As far as quality goes, I think it's a very, very high quality ink. Of course, you do have to like using ink more than, say, paint and mops and that sort of thing, but if you are the type of person that likes to do tags with ink and that kind of thing, then I think you are going to really like this product. You might want to try it out, might want to pick some up. That's what I always say, the best way to figure these things out is just by picking some up for yourself and trying it out. That being said, if you do want to see some other reviews of some inks on the channel here, I would really recommend the Mighty Marker. IM17 was what the marker was, but it has specifically a bleed through ink and it's performed incredibly well in that review, so go check that out. We've got lots of other reviews that we do here on the channel. I show some of my work on the channel. We have a graffiti freight train watching series, lots of other stuff. Check it out if you want. Until my next one, peace.